The story begins with Frieren and her companions embarking on a journey to their city. Himmel suggests that they seek employment upon their arrival, as they have already successfully vanquished the Demon King. Upon reaching the city, they receive recognition from the king. Later, they attend a celebratory gathering where Himmel reveals the king's plan to erect statues of them in the plaza. Standing together, Himmel, Frieren, Eisen, and Heider reflect on the unexpected swiftness of their journey's conclusion, even though it took them a decade to complete. They fondly reminisce about humorous moments from their adventures, such as Frieren being devoured by a mimic and Heider's eccentric behavior. Despite the challenges they faced, Himmel expresses his gratitude for having undertaken this journey with them. Their contemplative gaze turns toward the sky, where they observe the Era meteor shower. Frieren nonchalantly explains her indifference to the event, prompting Himmel to request that she not dampen the festive mood. In response, Frieren promises to show Himmel a better vantage point to view the meteor shower in 50 years. The next day, Frieren informs her friends that she intends to leave to collect spells and explore the central lands for the next century. As she departs, Himmel ponders what life will be like for Frieren. The narrative offers glimpses of Frieren's solo adventures, including her quest to obtain a shadow dragon horn. However, she is disappointed when the shopkeeper informs her that such an item is unavailable. Frieren recalls Himmel acquiring a similar horn during their expedition to the Demon King's castle. She decides to retrieve it from him during their next reunion, which coincides with the approaching Era meteor shower. Upon her return to the city, Frieren is taken aback by the dramatic changes it has undergone. She reunites with Himmel, but is shocked to see how much he has aged. Himmel reminds her that 50 years have passed, though he insists she still appears unchanged. Himmel hands over the Shadow Dragon horn, confessing that he had always planned to return it to her. Frieren sends a horn away to a secure location, and then visits Himmel at his home to take him along before the upcoming meteor shower. Frieren and Himmel rejoin Heider and Eisen, where they notice Heider has aged considerably, while Eisen, due to his dwarf heritage, remains unchanged. Frieren shares the news that it will take a week to reach the optimal spot for viewing the Era meteor shower, disappointing Himmel. As they continue their journey, Himmel fondly reminisces about their adventures and expresses his gratitude to Frieren for the unforgettable experiences they shared. At the same time, they all gaze at the meteor shower ahead. The story then transitions to Himmel's funeral, where Heider affirms that Himmel is content. Frieren overhears some individuals commenting on her seeming lack of emotion regarding Himmel's passing. Heider defends her, reminding them that they are also allies and not mourning his death. As Himmel is laid to rest, Frieren reflects on the moments they shared during their 10-year journey, and despite her limited time with him, she begins to cry, regretting that she did not get to know him better. Eisen and Heider offer comfort. Following the funeral, Frieren and Eisen bid farewell to Heider, who is headed to the Holy City. He jokes about the possibility of death, which surprises Frieren, but Heider assures her that, as legendary heroes, they will lead fulfilling lives in heaven after their eventual demise. He encourages Frieren to do the same. She confides in Eisen about her plans to learn more about humans. Frieren attempts to persuade Eisen to accompany her, but he declines, citing his age as a barrier to participating in further adventures. Thus, they part ways. The story then features a brief title card before revealing that 20 years have passed since Himmel's death, and Frieren currently finds herself on the outskirts of the Holy See of Strahl in the Central Lands, lost in the woods. In this unfamiliar territory, Frieren is noticed by a purple-haired girl named Fern, a war orphan from the southern lands. Frieren explains her travels and the desire to repay her debt to Heider before his eventual passing. Heider requests that Frieren take Fern as her apprentice despite Fern's promising abilities as a mage. However, Frieren declines, fearing that Fern's involvement may lead to her untimely death as requested by Heider. Heider introduces Frieren to a book uncovered from a sage's tomb, which contains long-lost spells related to resurrection and immortality. He asks Frieren if she can decipher the text, and she expresses confidence in her ability to do so, estimating it will take 5 to 6 years. Although Heider had no fear of death 20 years earlier, he now admits that he is apprehensive as it draws near. He asks Frieren to teach Fern magic during her spare time, a request to which Frieren eventually agrees, recognizing the difference in their knowledge and abilities. Frieren later meets with Fern and recognizes her latent potential as a mage. Fern mentions that Heider suggested she would become a true mage when she could blast a nearby rock. Impressively, Fern manages to shoot a beam that narrowly misses the target. Frieren inquires if Fern enjoys magic, to which Fern confesses her love for it. Frieren realizes that she shares similarities with Fern. Later, Frieren provides Fern with an explanation of long-range magic. Frieren guides Fern through the reasons her long-range spell dissipated before reaching its target, attributing it to insufficient mana and firing strength. Frieren, however, commends Fern for her exceptional control over magic, a skill many struggle to master. A montage shows Frieren's dual roles, deciphering the grimoire assigned by Heider and monitoring Fern's progress. 4 years elapse and Heider inquires about Fern's progress. Frieren shares that Fern's performance exceeds expectations but voices concern about her potentially exceeding her limits. Frieren assures Heider that she will complete the grimoire decryption before Fern becomes a full-fledged mage. However, before she can discuss potential issues with Heider, he collapses, leading to a scene where Heider lies in bed with Frieren at his side. Frieren promises Heider that she will expedite the grimoire deciphering process and leave. Spotting Fern engaged in training, Frieren requests her to pause and attend to Heider, but Fern adamantly refuses. She is determined to become a proper mage as she anticipates Hyder's impending passing. Fern reveals that Hyder once saved her life, and a flashback shows Hyder's initial encounter with Fern. Facing her despair and suicidal thoughts, Hyder persuades her not to give up on life. Hyder shares his past experiences with Himmel and expresses his desire to be more like him. He admits that he initially intended to live in isolation. Still, Himmel's influence convinced him to make a meaningful impact on the world before his time was up, preserving the memories and lessons he learned from Himmel. He tells Fern that if she cherishes her memories of the world, it would be a disservice to end her life prematurely. In the present, Fern tells Frieren that she doesn't necessarily desire to become a mage or acquire significant skills. Her primary motivation is to repay Hyder for his kindness. Frieren is swayed by Fern's determination and allows her to continue her training. As time passes, Frieren confides in Hyder while he is in bed. Frieren admits that the grimoire did not contain any spells related to resurrection or immortality. Hyder acknowledges that he was aware of this outcome, hinting at the reason for his request regarding the grimoire. He deflects Frieren's question and seeks an update on Fern's progress. Frieren mentions that Fern is approaching the level of a proper mage. Frieren realizes that Hyder orchestrated her involvement in Fern's training to make her competent enough to travel with him. Hyder discloses that her payment for deciphering the grimoire is in the desk drawer and urges her to leave the area that night, fearing that Fern might experience his death. He pleads with Frieren to take care of Fern. Frieren implores Hyder to grant Fern a proper farewell, as Fern is aware of his eventual passing. Before departing, she inquires about Hyder's motivation for saving Fern. Hyder responds that it's something Himmel would have done, and Frieren aspires to follow in Himmel's footsteps. Frieren and Fern pay their respects at Hyder's grave, and Fern expresses her gratitude for helping her fulfill her debt to him. The two companions embark on a new journey together. During their journey, while Frieren and Fern tackle a task involving pumpkins, a text note indicates that they are in the Turk region and 26 years have passed since Himmel's death. Following this, they continue their quest for spells. Fern reproaches Frieren for her fascination with bizarre spells, suggesting that she should focus on saving lives rather than wasting time on an uncertain quest. The herbalist they meet offers advice to Fern, suggesting that she communicate her feelings to Frieren. Following the herbalist's guidance, Fern gives Frieren seeds from a species resembling the blue moon weed flowers. Frieren promises to conclude her search, though Fern senses that Frieren is not ready to give up. They persist in their quest, and Fern questions Frieren's fascination with collecting spells. Frieren reveals that it's a hobby she adopted after living apathetically, crediting Himmel for changing her perspective. Frieren finds a blue moon seed flower petal, triggering memories of a moment she shared with Himmel regarding the plant. Frieren and Fern come across a field of blue moon seed flowers, leading to a return visit to Himmel's statue, where Frieren magically conjures the field. Later, Frieren places a wreath of blue moon seed flowers on Himmel's statue, mirroring a similar act Himmel once performed for her in a flashback. Afterward, Frieren along with Fern explore the warm city. Frieren suggests they divide to restock their travel supplies, and Fern is given a list of the essential items to purchase. However, she suspects that Frieren may acquire unnecessary items, recalling past instances when this happened. Frieren departs with a promise to meet Fern at the inn later, but Fern decides to follow her to ensure she doesn't overspend secretly. Fern discovers Frieren at an accessory shop, appearing mildly concerned. Frieren picks up an item and leaves, with Fern continuing to trail her. Frieren inquires about dessert shops and receives information from locals at a tavern before heading back to the inn. Fern realizes she forgot to complete her shopping task, causing her to put her observation mission on hold temporarily. Upon reuniting, Frieren scolds Fern for her tardiness, and they dine in an outdoor restaurant. Frieren generously encourages Fern to order whatever she desires, mentioning her savings. Fern suggests trying Merker pudding, which triggers a memory of a similar moment Frieren shared with Himmel and the others at an eatery. Frieren apologizes to Fern for not understanding her interests and tastes as well as Himmel did. Frieren presents Fern with a gift from the accessory shop, and Fern expresses gratitude for Frieren's effort to get to know her. The two leave Warm City to resume their journey, and Fern questions the purpose of their journey together. Frieren admits she lacks a specific goal beyond finding spells, but expresses her desire to revisit places she experienced with Himmel and the others. Frieren acknowledges Fern's growth since they first met, highlighting her age of 16 and teasingly suggesting she can be like an older sister due to her height. They reach Grove Forest and engage in a spar to test Fern's progress as a mage. Subsequently, they continue their travels, and Fern questions Frieren's emphasis on teaching her defensive magic. Frieren explains that it increases her chances of survival. The duo arrives at a secluded village where Frieren has a specific purpose. They meet a man who knows of Frieren's intention to see Qual, a sage sealed away 80 years ago for his crimes, and reveals that Himmel, Frieren, and their companions were responsible for the sealing. Frieren informs the man that Qual's seal is weakening, prompting her to visit and defeat him. The man shares stories about Himmel's annual visits to the town, where he checked on the seal and shared tales of Frieren with the villagers. He guides them to Qual, and Frieren plans to confront him the following day. During the night, Frieren shares the backstory of why they sealed Qual. His formidable power and his devastating spell, Zoltrak, made him nearly unbeatable. While they manage to seal him away, Frieren doesn't reveal why Zoltrak led to his defeat. She suggests they get some rest, promising that Fern will learn more the next day. Frieren releases Qual's seal, and they engage in a battle. Thanks to Fern's mastery of defensive magic, they successfully block Qual's Zoltrak attack. Frieren reveals the aftermath of sealing Qual, explaining how mages analyzed Zoltrak's principles and integrated them into humanity's magic system, resulting in powerful new defensive spells. In the end, Frieren and Fern defeat Qual using his own spell. Grateful townspeople express their appreciation for their assistance. As Frieren reflects on the straw hat-wearing man in the village, she remembers an incident from her childhood when he playfully lifted her skirt. Fern and Frieren continue their journey, and the episode concludes with Fern's heartfelt remark about Himmel's enduring belief in Frieren. 28 years after Himmel's demise, Fern and Frieren embark on a journey through the challenging Grand's Channel alongside an elderly companion. This experienced guide expounds on the region's arduous nature and fondly recalls its once pristine beauty. He offers Fern a book penned by the legendary mage Flam as compensation for their cleanup efforts, albeit the book turns out to be a counterfeit. Fern's keen observation reveals the book's true nature, but Frieren remains determined to fulfill the task, driven by her unwavering commitment to aiding those in need. After Fern procures some bread from a local shop, she becomes aware of the 3-month duration they've spent in the area. Upon returning to their quarters, Fern is met with disarray and takes on the responsibility of guiding a languid Frieren towards their destination. During their cleaning duties, Fern doesn't shy away from acknowledging Frieren's less than pristine habits. The conversation turns to Himmel's group and how they manage Frieren's occasional indolence. Frieren confesses that Himmel and her companions were a unique bunch, occasionally disappointed by her habits. The pair shares a meal at their client's abode and expresses their intent to clean up before the New Year's festival. As they set out to clean the town's beach at dawn, Frieren expounds on the significance of completing their task before the festival, owing to a picturesque sunrise that graces the occasion. Frieren laments her past inability to witness such a spectacle due to her erratic sleep schedule and pledges to pull an all-nighter this time. Nevertheless, Frieren succumbs to oversleeping once again, and Fern must intervene to ensure she doesn't miss the sunrise. Frieren remains somewhat perplexed by the sunrise's allure, prompting a reflection on Himmel's fascination with it. Before returning to their quarters, Fern reassures Frieren of the sunrise's beauty. Frieren's subsequent contemplation leads to a newfound appreciation for the sunrise's magnificence. The narrative briefly transitions to a flashback featuring Himmel, Heider, Frieren, and Eisen inspecting artifacts. Eisen recalls the tragedy that befell his village at the hands of demons, initiating a conversation on the concept of heaven and the differing perspectives each member holds. The group offers their prayers to statues, and the scene transitions seamlessly to the present, with Eisen continuing his prayers at the same spot. Frieren and Fern rejoin Eisen and embark on a journey to Vol Basin in search of notes pertaining to Flam, the legendary mage. Eisen discloses his motivation for seeking these notes, driven by his empathy for Frieren and her yearning for more time with Himmel. Learning of a rumor that Flam could communicate with the departed, Eisen deemed it vital to grant Frieren this power to convey her sentiments to Himmel. Their quest leads them to a colossal tree shielded by a formidable barrier, hinting at Flam's role as Frieren's mentor. A flashback reveals Flam's wisdom, emphasizing the value of forging deeper connections with people and urging Frieren to return when the time was right. The barrier is eventually unsealed, granting access to a hidden area containing Flam's grimoire. Frieren delves into the grimoire's content, uncovering details about speaking with the dead. Flam's account describes her arrival at Oriel, the realm of resting souls or heaven. There she engaged in conversations with numerous individuals, including former comrades. Frieren learns that Oriel now resides in Enbib, the site housing the Demon King's castle, prompting Eisen to stress the importance of Frieren's visit to speak with Himmel. Fern's attempts to wake Frieren prove futile, leading to a discussion between Eisen and Fern regarding Frieren's qualities as a master. Although Fern has some reservations, she acknowledges Frieren's generosity. The narrative briefly revisits a flashback where Frieren expresses her reluctance to take on an apprentice due to the belief that it would be a futile endeavor. Eisen counters by asserting that Frieren is indeed a commendable master. Eisen decides to remain behind to avoid impeding their journey, warning Fern that reaching the Demon King's castle will be a decade-long endeavor. As the story unfolds, Fern reminds Frieren that a significant portion of her life has already passed, and Frieren encourages her to brace herself for more time slipping away. Heider, their companion in spirit, advises Fern to heed Frieren's guidance during their travels, or he'll haunt her in the afterlife. Fern's demonstration of cleverness eventually convinces Heider to promise a visit if she treats Frieren kindly. Frieren and Fern venture to a town located in the Wild region, where they receive a warning from a local about the perilous mountain pass, plagued by numerous disappearances. Further inquiries among the townsfolk lead Fern to deduce that people have witnessed the apparitions of deceased loved ones and acquaintances. Frieren suspects a powerful monster is at the heart of this phenomenon and suggests avoiding any contact with it. Fern, on the other hand, proposes helping the troubled townspeople before moving on. Their exploration of the treacherous mountain pass is filled with investigation and contemplation. Fern speculates that the mysterious entity is using illusion magic to ensnare its victims. Frieren identifies it as an Einsim, a cunning monster with a penchant for preying on humans. It notes that its illusions hold no threat for mages, as they can be dispelled with high-level offensive magic. Frieren advises Fern to eliminate any phantoms they encounter as they traverse the mist-shrouded forest. During their journey, a phantom materializes, taking on the appearance of an elderly Heider. Fern is taken aback by the phantom's ability to delve into her memories. Another phantom resembling Himmel interposes itself before Frieren, surprising her with a choice of form, prompting her to reflect on her transformation. Together, Frieren and Fern vanquish these apparitions and proceed to Rydal Canyon, where they spot a solar dragon guarding a grimoire within its nest. Frieren's determination to secure the grimoire leads her to desire the dragon's defeat. However, Fern's magical attempts prove ineffective, awakening the dragon and prompting a hasty retreat. Frieren proposes recruiting a companion capable of handling such challenges in the future. This transition takes us to a flashback involving Aizen and Frieren, who discuss Stark, a formidable frontliner and warrior. Aizen reveals that Stark is his apprentice and a skilled combatant. The narrative progresses as Frieren informs Fern that the grimoire contains a spell allowing one to see through clothing, emphasizing its potential benefits. They are joined by a woman who shares the dragon's history and Stark's role in protecting the village. Stark, in a friendly encounter, requests that they refrain from meddling with the dragon for the sake of the villagers. Frieren, introducing herself, privately converses with Stark about her intentions, and Stark discloses his hesitation to return to Aizen's side. Frieren persuades Stark to join their party and become their frontliner to vanquish the dragon. Stark agrees, but with one condition. He requires their assistance in distracting the dragon for 30 seconds. Stark eventually opens up about his past fear, revealing that the dragon had left the village by sheer chance, and he had pretended to scare it away. As doubts arise among the trio about including Stark, Frieren assures Fern of his capability. Frieren grants Stark a day to solidify his decision as they head to a local diner. While contemplating Stark's inclusion, Fern grapples with uncertainties arising from his timidity. Their departure from the diner is punctuated by a loud disturbance, prompting Frieren to assume that Stark is engaged in training. Fern is tasked with checking on him while Frieren seeks rest at their inn. A flashback at their campground resurfaces, featuring a conversation between Aizen and Frieren concerning Stark's past as a timid individual. Aizen sees similarities between Stark and himself, prompting him to take Stark under his wing as an apprentice. He assures Frieren of Stark's potential as a valiant warrior and a suitable addition to their journey. Later, Stark and Fern engage in a conversation about the daunting dragon. While Stark would rather not engage with the dragon, he acknowledges his duty as the village's hero to do so. He confides in Fern, recounting a battle with Aizen that left him scared and unpraised. Fern believes Stark isn't one to run from a challenge, reminiscing about her own past encounter with fear while confronting a monster during training. She shares how she faced her fears and triumphed without Frieren's assistance, relying on her determination. The following day, Stark approaches Frieren and Fern to discuss the dragon. He expresses his desire for Frieren to finish off the dragon if he's unable to maintain it for the promised 30-second time limit. The trio proceeds to the dragon's lair, where Stark's nervousness becomes evident. Frieren draws a parallel between Stark's demeanor and Aizen's, who displayed similar body language during their past travels. Stark initiates the battle with the dragon, while Frieren provides a monologue about the dragon and Aizen's previous encounter with Stark. In a flashback, Aizen clarifies that he never intended to harm Stark on the day of their parting, even though their farewell was marked by heated disagreements. He acknowledges that his reflexes took over and expresses deep regret for his actions, admitting he was apprehensive of Stark's potential as a formidable warrior. Stark manages to defeat the dragon, earning praise from Frieren, who promptly rushes to claim the dragon's treasure. While gathering loot, Stark shares with Frieren the amusing stories that Aizen told him about her quirky habits. In another flashback, Aizen confides in Himmel about his exasperation with their whimsical escapades, while Himmel appreciates the lightheartedness of their journey compared to more somber experiences. With their mission complete and having helped the village, Stark, Fern, and Frieren continue their journey. After some playful experimentation with the see-through clothes spells, Stark expresses his desire to accompany them on their quest to reach Oriole. Upon arriving at the fortress city of Wall, the group encounters a guard who denies them passage due to increased monster activity in the northern lands. The guard cautions them not to cause any disturbances within the city. Frieren suggests that they use their time to study magic while waiting for the monster's situation to be resolved. She then heads to find accommodations while Stark decides to satisfy his appetite. Fern, however, overhears conversations among locals discussing the shutdown of sea routes and the potential 2-year delay for the checkpoint to reopen. Meanwhile, Stark fondly reminisces about his past with Aizen while savoring a dessert he once enjoyed. Fern approaches Stark, her mood soured by the unsettling news, and reveals the lengthy wait they might face. Stark, uninterested in waiting, resolves to find a way through the checkpoint. Their pursuit of alternatives takes them to the Merchants Guild and the black market, but their efforts yield no success. Stark eventually suggests they visit the guard station regarding the checkpoint. Atop the city's wall, Stark shares a reminiscent moment he had with Aizen in a similar setting, revealing his eagerness to leave the city as soon as possible. He expresses his desire for fun and whimsy during their travels with Frieren and her before sharing his experiences with Aizen. As they discuss their plans, Frieren is discovered hiding in the city and reveals she's being monitored by the guards for an unknown reason. The guard who initially denied them passage offers an apology, and the city's Castellan approaches with a sincere apology as well. Acknowledging Frieren's legendary status, the Castellan grants passage to Frieren and her companions through the checkpoint. The episode concludes with our trio passing through the checkpoint and Frieren expressing a wish to have spent more time in the city. And that is it for the 3 latest episodes of Frieren, Beyond Journey's End.
How was the video? We hope it was good. If so, please check these videos. Also, please comment down your thoughts and your suggestions for future videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing now to show the support to our channel. We hope to see you soon with another video right in this channel. Have a nice day.